Now I want to get into how you deployed overseas as an FBI agent because I've heard those stories before, but I have a feeling a lot of the audience has never. They probably didn't even know that was a thing. So you're attached to the Rangers, and the big thing is I want to kind of piece out first is did you have to go through new tactical training because now you're going to a war zone? Yeah, you were a Navy SEAL. That was in the 90s. Now it's 2010. What type of train up do you do to go over to war as an FBI agent?
Yeah. So let me give you the backdrop on how this happened. So our special operations units, right? The SEALs, Delta, Green Berets, Rangers, were doing a great job of smashing targets, right? They're just doing a great job of smashing targets. What they weren't doing a great job of, though, was collecting intelligence, right? And they made their adjustments, and then it was, well, what other adjustment can we make? Who's good at establishing rapport with an adversary quickly and gaining actionable intelligence? Well, a good FBI agent is really good at that, right? Because that's what we do. We establish rapport with bad guys. We try to get them on our side, and then we get actionable intelligence. So what they did, they started a program, and it was with the hostage rescue team initially, right? So those guys are 100% a combat unit, okay? And they said, okay, we'll go in because we're FBI agents first. So we still have that skill set. We still have the skill set on how to properly search a location that's organized, and then how to bring it back to location, separate it out, or all the organizational stuff that FBI agents do on a regular basis. And then they were up to speed currently on combat and tactics. So they were the initial ones who went in. Well, the program got so popular, like the special operations community was like, this is fantastic. We need more. Well, they were getting burned out. So then they went to the SWAT teams and said, we need people who are current on tactics and, who can volunteer. And that process, that vetting process was stringent, right? So somebody like me who worked terrorism, so I knew the landscape and was a Navy SEAL and was a SWAT operator. So Errol, they come in, and then it was I can't remember, a month or two, but it was intensive training. Like, it was as good as training as I've ever been to, because they had all been over, HRT put it on. They'd all been over there. They knew what to see. They knew what to train us on. And by the time we got to that unit, we were locked in. We were as good at combat and up to speed as anybody else. And then we did our job better than anybody. So that's the backdrop of how that worked out. So it was very selective.
Were you excited to get over there and get to be right in the action, be right in the middle of it in the war on terror? You didn't get to, obviously you were out of the SEALs before the war on terror started, but now like this is it. You're an FBI agent, but like you're going. Were you pumped?
Pumped. I couldn't get there soon enough. I remember telling my friend, after 9/11, and it looked like I was joining the FBI. I said, I don't know how I'm doing it. I will be over there someday, and I will be getting after people. And he didn't. He's like, oh, if you say so, but I don't think that's what the FBI does, Errol. So when I told him I got back, he's like, Errol, so this was 2010. He goes, you said it. You said you were getting over there and you were going to get after people, and you did. That is unbelievable, right? So that was my intention all along. I didn't know how it was going to look. But I said, there is going to come a day where I will be carrying my weapon and I will be over there in the middle of it. And I'll be getting mine. And I did.
And do they kit you up just like you're an Army Ranger or a Green Beret? Like you've got the full night vision, you got an M4 body. So if someone just saw a photo of like the team, they would have no idea that you were an FBI agent.
No, except that we wore our beards and stuff like that just to kind of, was it necessary? No. I guess the technical reason behind that is if you're operating in a special unit, there's always a possibility you can get separated because you're going into the Badlands, right? You're going directly there. So that gives you a little bit of like, all right, if you're on, escape and evasion and somebody takes a quick look, you've got a big bushy beard. Maybe they won't look at you twice. But for us, it was good to separate what we looked like. So once we got on target, they handed the target over to us. Like, okay, they call us Fox Bravo. All right, Fox Bravo, the target's yours. And our job would then to be separate, interview, fingerprints, and who are we taking with us? And it just was always a little bit different when they looked at you and you had this big bushy beard and everybody else didn't. Like, why are you different? So it was more of a psychological thing as well. But aside from that, we had state-of-the-art gear. And it was issued to us and, all state-of-the-art.
Well, it's amazing you're seeing so many things from the FBI perspective that mesh almost identical to what I've heard from guys in the military in those exact situations. And with the beard and tattoos, one guy said when they would look at me, guys they were taken into custody, and they'd say, we've seen plenty of American soldiers and they're tatted up and they've got big beards, and they'd say, yeah, but you ain't ever seen any that look like us before.
Yeah, you haven't seen me.
And they said that played huge mind games with those dudes. So whose authority are you under? Because you're an FBI agent. Are you listening to whoever the highest ranking ranger is on target, or who's your boss on target when bullets are flying?
The company commander. The company commander on site. The FBI did a pretty good job weirdly, they did a good job of staying out of our way, right? So HRT, we had several bosses, technically. HRT, that was their program. So we reported back to them regularly with our daily reports. And there's some ancillary FBI units that wanted to claim some responsibility, so you had to check in with them once in a while. But it was mostly HRT. But then from a pure tactical standpoint, we answer to the company commander on the ground.
The first time you hit a target, or the first time you were in a situation where it was starting to get real dicey, real hairy, what emotions are going through your head, realizing like this ain't training anymore? Like people are out here getting shot.
Yeah, it happened pretty quickly. So our deployment, as far as deployment went, was great. We saw so much action and we didn't lose a single person. It was fantastic from that standpoint. Now, that said, about once a week, we'd have to have a memorial for another Ranger unit where a couple guys got killed. But yeah, to answer your question, how do you describe it? You're ready. Right. And you're just ready. And as a matter of fact, you're itching. Let's get it. Right. Because that's what you're there for. But the realization for me personally hit in the helicopter on the first mission. And they're obviously all at night. And just looking over the mountains of Afghanistan and being like, holy crap, I'm here. This is actually happening. And then you start thinking, wait, holy crap, who's in the mountains? Are they got a stinger ready to hit us? Then you start getting to operational mode. And it's funny, it's our first operation, we jumped out of the helicopter and you set your perimeter. Well, I tripped and I did a somersault. My night vision came off and I'm like, are you kidding me? This is how I'm starting, but it was just like anything else. Like, just relax, take a breath. Get your night vision back on because you've practiced this. You've practiced this falling off and getting it on at night. So it was funny because I had a giggle at myself. But then, once you're going, the first time the firefight started for me, I had a mix of emotions, right? There was that exhilaration, that adrenaline rush, like, okay, let's go. And then there was the obvious fear, like, ooh, okay, this is real. Right, those sound effects that the movies have, like bing, bing, those are real. Whoever put that into play, and I'm like, oh my God, it really sounds like that. So there's a lot that goes through your head. And that all happens split second, because then you are locked into what your job is and where everybody else is. And then you are truly you go to what you know in times of stress. And in this case, you know your training. You lock in very quickly.
That's absolutely mind-boggling to me. As a former Navy SEAL, what was your impression of Army Rangers?
Loved them. It's a different group, and I'm glad they got to the tier 1 status because they deserve it. But it's very much more of a traditional military Army atmosphere, right? In the SEAL teams, it's very casual, almost to its detriment at certain times. Here, it was still, yes, Sergeant, no, Sergeant, yes, sir, no, sir, right? Lots of that formality, but highly trained, just hard as nails and ready to get it done and respectful. So the atmosphere, the culture was a little different. It was a little more military than I was used to coming out of the SEAL teams. And then even, HRT, right? Because we did a lot of training with them. It's all a little more informal, professional, but informal. The Rangers, they maintained that very military bearing, no beards, haircut short, the whole thing.
This is blowing me away. Just the impression you have is a guy that was an FBI agent. Now you're in Afghanistan. Do you miss it ever? Do you miss, are there days where you think to yourself, man, I wish I could be on one more target in Afghanistan?
So it's funny you say that. So I was engaged before I went. I had just gotten engaged. And my father-in-law, we were sitting around having drinks, before I left. And, he goes, I'm not sure why you're doing this. So he's like, you're about to get married. And so we talked through it, and I said, look, Steve, if you're looking to talk me out of it, it's not going to happen, but I do hear you. He goes, well, make me a promise. I said, okay, if I can. He said, make this the first and last. And I said, all right, deal. Because I could have spent years over there. I loved it. I loved it. I would have asked to have gone back. I would have done all that stuff, but I made a promise, and it was a good promise, right? It wasn't, I don't look back and go, I wish I didn't make that promise. It was a good promise. It was the right promise to make. And I'm glad that I did. But from that other side of who I am, I loved it.